Hi, I'm Brad Sugars and these are the Business Basics. In fact, the generalised principles we're looking at today are some of the most fundamental ways of thinking that I believe I possess so that I understand how come I'm creating success. You know, a lot of people don't realise why they're creating success. One of the strengths I have in life is I like to look at and evaluate how it is did we get here? What is it that we created to do this? Now, taking a look at, well, technically, you know, if I looked at it, it'd be the second law of thermonuclear dynamics, but we're going to make it a lot simpler than that for you today. Basically, it's the law of either growing or dying. If you take a look at a tree, it's either growing or it's dying. You know, it's very, very simple. One of the best stories on this that I can relate to is a very simple one. Daniel's son. I'm not sure if you're a movie buff like I am, but I remember watching The Karate Kid. And you remember Daniel came to Miyagi and said, I want to learn karate. And Miyagi is a great teacher, so he understood that Daniel didn't really want to learn karate when he first came to him. And Daniel came to Miyagi's son and he said, Miyagi, you know, yes, I do. And what did he make him do? Do you remember? Wax on, wax off. Then he had to paint the fence, and then he had to sand the floor, and then he had to paint the house. And so he made him do all these things until finally Daniel blurted one evening that he really wanted to learn karate and almost yelled and screamed and wanted to fight with Miyagi. And Miyagi taught him a very, very simple lesson. He said, you know, left side of the road, don't learn karate is okay. Right side of the road, learn every bit of karate is okay. Middle of the road, kind of learn a little bit, squish like grape. You know, and he taught him that very simple lesson. And I teach it to you from a business perspective. Have a job, work a job, be happy with that the rest of your life, paycheck to paycheck, exceptionally good life. You know, you can live a brilliant life living it that way. Other side of the road, going after wealth, creating massive wealth and really committing to doing it, building a vast business, building a portfolio of assets, brilliant way of life. Middle of the road, trying to look rich, acting rich, borrowing money, getting into debt, squish like grape. No more complex than that. You've either got to go one way or the other. You can't do the whole looking good, going nowhere thing. People that are in debt up to their eyeballs, looking rich, trying to pretend they're rich, with no asset backing, no cash flow backing. You know, we're either growing or we're dying. This is the simplistic way I can put business. Watch the tree outside. The moment it stops growing, it's dying. The same is true for business, the same is true in life. The moment you stop growing is the moment you start going backwards in life. I watch people in careers. The moment they stop learning, their career starts going backwards. It's very, very simple. People in business, when the owner stops learning. If you haven't got a coach who's helping you continue your growth, then you're going backwards. Business sales, when sales stop growing, the profit starts dying. Costs keep going up. You know, make sure you understand, either growing or dying cannot be status quo. Even if you are at status quo, your competitors are catching up and beating you, so technically you are dying. You know, we then go on. I studied the work of a gentleman by the name of Ilya Prigogine. And Ilya Prigogine was the third law of thermonuclear dynamics, and he won actually the Nobel Science Prize for his work in this, and he called it perturbation. Now, what did he mean? Well, in essence, in my understanding of perturbation, he explained the growth of pretty much everything, that things needed to be perturbed in order to grow. Now, let's take a look at how this works. Let me show you in a picture. So there's a line you reach when things are perturbed, and I'm going to use the example of, say, boiling water. When you go to boil water, the aim of the game is to actually turn it into something different. See, the water's either not boiling or it is boiling. But what happens in the middle is the water starts to simmer. So let me use this example. You reach that line. You know, here's the water, it's hit that line. What's the pressure coming from? Because for there to be growth, Prigogine found there must be pressure. You look at the coal into a diamond. You look at the tree with the wind buffeting it. It has bigger roots and stronger tree than the tree that grows in the middle of a forest with very low root base. The more pressure, the better there's a chance of something growing. Now, the way that happens with water and boiling is we turn up the heat, we turn it on. Now, when it gets to a certain point before boiling, it starts to simmer. That's what Prigogine termed as perturbed. It's now perturbating. So it's ready to break through. And it's either going to, if the pressure stays on, it's either going to break through and start boiling, or it's going to go back the other way if you remove the pressure, and it may have simmered, but it'll just calm back down to what it was before. You know, now here's the thing, when water boils, what's it release? Steam. The same's true for a human being, the same's true for a team of people. You know, if you're growing a team of people, you know there needs to be pressure applied. That's why sporting teams come together stronger than business teams, because they have competition they have to go out and play against. The problem with most businesses, we don't have competitors we have to go and play hard against. There's that, the comparison's not there on a daily, weekly basis that sporting teams get. So then we take a look at this perturbation. You go through, you hit sitting on that line, you're simmering. You break through, you break apart, and you come back together as something entirely new. There's a pop or there's a breakthrough at that point in time. You release the steam, or in human beings that's called emotion. The steam can be released in many ways. By the way, a really important point, negative perturbation and positive perturbation. A boss who is the whole, you will do or else, I will sack you, you know, that negative boss, when it breaks apart, kind of like a balloon. If you've got a balloon, negative pressure, it blows it apart. Positive pressure, stretching it, adding a goal in play, that stretches the balloon, and eventually the bottom will let go as long as the vision's tight enough, and the balloon will pop and come back up together again. You know, different ways of thinking. But the facts remain very, very simple. You'll break apart and you'll come back together again. And once you've handled that level of pressure, you're at an entirely different level, a totally different level, and you'll never go back to the way you were again. Kind of like when the diamond's created, it can't go back. So here we are looking at it. You're either growing or you're dying. In order for something to grow, there must be pressure exerted. In order for it to grow in the right way, there must be positive pressure exerted. There'll be emotional releases. There'll be growth that happens, so you'll never go backwards from that stage. But the fact remains, we need to grow in business. We need to continue growing as people. We need to continue the growth of the business. In order to grow, we've got to make certain there is pressure applied. Not negative pressure of, hey, we better get this or else we're going to die as a business, or you're going to lose your job. But a positive pressure of, these are the goals we're going after. This is the dream. This is the vision of what we're aiming to achieve. The positive pressure is what we're going for time and time again. Let's make sure we're either growing or we're dying, and we're doing that growth with positive pressure. I'm Brad Sugars, and these are the Business Basics.